Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to another presentation of Innovation Live. I'm Mrs. Hughes with the Energy Station. The Energy Station is one of a family of career-themed makerspaces in our Chula Vista Elementary School District, located at the South Branch Chula Vista Public Library. Our focus is to teach about potential careers in the clean energy industry and educate our students about the value of renewable energy sources. Thanks to our station partners, the Chula Vista Elementary School District, the Chula Vista Public Libraries, our City of Chula Vista, SDG&E, NECA, and IBW, who have been supporting our programs all year. I especially want to thank our wonderful CVESD Communications Department, who is now providing for the first time live Spanish translation for our community. Si esta es su primera vez aquí, entonces les damos unas bienvenidas a estos estudiantes y familias. So we're in the middle of spring and it's the month of Earth Day. So to recognize Earth Day coming up next week, our topic is to go green. Building a sprout house. Yes, we are going to be building a house using plants. Behind the scenes, Mr. Bruder, Mr. Garcia, and Ms. Feistrecht are here with me to moderate your chat and to take all your questions. At the end, we'll have a Kahoot game as well to check for your understanding. So let's go ahead and get started. What is Earth Day? Well, about 50 years ago, there was a movement of people who felt a need to protect the environment. One idea was to pick a day to make people more aware, take action, and do something specifically good for the earth. Now, 1 billion people in 193 countries around the world celebrate this day in many different ways. The first Earth Day was created in 1970, and it's happened every April 22nd since then. So here's my first question for you in the chat. What is something you can do to help the environment every day? Again, what is something you can do to help the environment every day? Share some of your ideas in the chat. What are some ways we can make Earth Day every day? Well, how does this connect to what we're going to be doing today? Well, designing homes has a lot to do with choosing good materials that won't damage the environment. It also means finding smart ways to heat and cool a house with the least amount of energy. This is the job of an architect and architect engineering. The architect is a designer, much like a person who designs your clothes or cars. The architect imagines the look and the feel of the home or the building and other structures. Now, our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders might be familiar with our RIASEC personality letters, and they're going to notice that architecture certainly means having some creativity and artistic talent, but it also involves being investigative and problem solving. The job of an architect is to design a building that both looks amazing and helps save on energy. Now, if you're an artistic person, can you see yourself doing this kind of job? To learn more about it, here's a quick peek into why architectural engineering is so important to the environment.
Hey, Mrs. Hughes, I don't think we can hear your sound.
Okay, let's go ahead and we'll check on that one more time. Let's see if our sound is on here. Oh, okay, let's go ahead and try that again.
You've probably never thought about it, but buildings are a fundamental part of our lives. We spend almost 90% of our lives in buildings, and because there are more than 1 billion of them in the world, they consume almost half the world's energy. This makes buildings responsible for 40% of carbon emissions in the US alone. That's more than the total emissions from cars. And because the Earth's climate is becoming more extreme, future buildings will need to better withstand storms and floods and earthquakes in order to keep us safe. Clearly, what we need is a science of buildings. Well, we have one. It's called architectural engineering. Architectural engineers solve all of these problems. They combine their technical expertise with their passion for design to create buildings that are sustainable, safe, and beautiful. More than just creating the spaces where we live, work, and play, architectural engineers leave a mark on the world that lasts far beyond their own lifetimes.
Okay. So if you heard what they were talking about, architecture is really amazing. And architecture is a lot like the storybook characters with the three little pigs. If you remember how that story goes, each pig thought that he could build a house that prevented the big bad wolf from knocking it down. One used straw, one used wood, and another one used bricks. And architects, they want to solve problems. Now, today's architects are doing that with all sorts of eco-friendly materials that you'd never even think of. For example, did you know that the plant bamboo, yes, the same plant that panda bears eat, is becoming the newest material to build a home? It's environmentally friendly because it doesn't take very long to grow. And bamboo grows about 10 times faster than ordinary wood. So instead of chopping down trees that take decades to grow, bamboo can replenish itself in just a few years. Then there's the recycling method to architecture. Take these container homes you see here. Yes, these are made from old shipping containers. They're called modular homes, and they've been recycled to create useful tiny spaces. And finally, there's 3D printing. 3D printing has allowed architects to quickly design homes right on the spot. This can help the environment because there's less building material, just concrete. And this is a great idea for places that need lots of homes really fast. Now, all of these are ways that we can help save the environment. So let's go ahead and check in with what our viewers have had to say about finding ways to help the environment, ways we can solve these problems just every day. Mr. Bruder, do we have some ideas from the chat?
Hey, Mrs. Hughes. Yes, we have a bunch of great ideas. I have to say one of the most popular ones was shared by Caitlin and a whole bunch of other viewers was cleaning up trash. I know we do a lot of neighborhood and beach cleanups and things like that. So I was glad to hear that.
Yeah, I think picking up trash is the simplest thing you can do. I mean, when you guys go outside, if you're going to a park, carry in, take in, take out. You don't need to leave things out there, and you provide our trash bins, especially beach cleanups as well. Those are some great service projects that you can do with your family.
Yeah, we also had some other ideas. Cameron shared about using compost bins and putting compostable items into those bins to make compost.
That's a really good one too. I know that's really big for schools that have their own gardens. And I know our colleague, Ms. Quiros at the Living Coast Discovery Center, they have some great activities there, or they're doing some virtual composting since we haven't been able to be in person as often. So yeah, if you want to learn how to compost, that's a really great, inexpensive way to get started, and you can create your own fertilizer for your garden.
Yeah, Riley also shared about picking up trash, but also replanting items. Mrs. Kalarick shared about walking to school, and another one that was shared by Violet, which I'm always telling my family, using less electricity.
Yeah, I know how many of you kids don't point to your parents right now. It's like they're telling you turn off the lights if you're not in a room. I know I was guilty of that a lot when I was a kid. So great ideas, you guys. Keep those up. Simple things that you can do every single day. We just have to make that conscious choice. So we've heard some of the ideas you've had to help save the environment every day, but I want you to think like an architect. Can you think of ways to save on energy or materials specifically for your house? Okay, so that's our chat question number 2. You can start thinking about it. What are ways to save energy or materials in your home? Now, for example, in my home, I might decide to just open the windows more often than running the air conditioner. And you know, if you're back in the classroom at school now, you know that all that fresh air does really help out. So brainstorm some ideas, let us know in the chat, and think of some ways that you can save energy or materials at your house. Now, one interesting way to save energy in buildings comes from this idea called green roofs. Now, in large, crowded cities where the weather is moderate and it tends to get some rain, this is a great idea to help keep a building cool instead of wasting AC. So let's take a look at what some buildings in New York City are doing to their rooftops that is saving them tons of energy and changing the city landscape. I'll make sure I have my sound on this time, Mr. Bruder. Let's see if we can get to that.
This is the largest green roof in New York City. It's in the middle of bustling Manhattan, on top of the Javits Convention Center, a behemoth of a building with a 6-block footprint. But the roof hasn't always been green. Before 2014, it was totally barren. Now, just a few years later, when people walk out onto the roof, they say things like,
"Amazing, that's great, I didn't expect this, what a surprise."
But besides the great reactions, there are practical benefits.
We have 300,000 bees. We've seen 25 different species of birds on the roof. We reduced the temperature up here by about 6 degrees Fahrenheit. And we also save about 7 million gallons of stormwater runoff that's absorbed in the soil and the plants that are on our roof. We've been able to reduce our energy consumption by about 26%, and that translated for us last year into a saving of about $3 million.
That is impressive. How does one green roof get so much done? And what are all of the not green roofs in New York City doing with their lives? First, let's see how much roof space actually exists.
You know, they are a major part of urban landscapes. The round number that most of us think is about 1 billion square feet. 1 billion with a B.
That's like 22 times the size of Central Park in roofs. And in most cities, what isn't roof is another impermeable surface, like road, sidewalk, or parking lot. And these surfaces create a lot of problems for cities that green roofs can actually help solve. Let's take a look at 3 of these issues. The first is stormwater runoff.
Rainwater goes into pipes. It combines with what's called sanitary water. When there's too much rainwater, which happens hundreds of times a year around Manhattan, the wastewater treatment facilities shut down, and these valves just let the water just, shunt out into the rivers. And, it's got human sewage. It's the biggest source of pathogens to the Manhattan Island. With green roofs, that water, instead of going into the drains and polluting the environment, ends up just evaporating to the atmosphere through the leaves of these plants.
And then there's what scientists call the heat island effect, which basically means that cities are significantly warmer than the surrounding areas.
Well, I've seen asphalt roofs get up easily 170, 180 degrees Fahrenheit in the strong sunlight. They absorb about 90 to 95% of the sunlight. Green roofs, by comparison, are close to air temperatures.
Another problem green roofs can help solve is habitat loss. Cities can shrink or destroy the green space that's crucial for certain plants and animals to survive.
Currently, a lot of species might occur in smaller parks throughout the city that are relatively unconnected, but having high densities of green roofs would allow those patches to be more connected, letting, for example, butterflies travel from patch to patch with lots of stepping stones of green roofs in between.
And these are just 3 of the problems green roofs can help solve. But to really put a dent in any of these issues, cities would have to implement green roofs at a large scale. Stuart Gaffin, the research scientist you heard from earlier, estimates that if all of New York City's 1 billion square feet of roof space were greened, those green roofs could lower the city's temperature by nearly 2 degrees Fahrenheit and absorb over 10 billion gallons of stormwater each year. As cities continue to grow, all that empty roof space starts to look more and more like an opportunity, an untapped resource, a future ecosystem of problem-solving meadows in the sky.
Okay, wow. Now that's a creative use of space. Now, I bet if you looked around your own neighborhood or park, you could find some examples of clever uses of plants too. So let's hear from you guys what you had to say about ways to save on energy in your own home. Mr. Bruder, do we have some suggestions from our viewers on how to do that?
Yes, we do. I'm impressed. The first one was from Lilac about using less plastic and using more renewable items.
Yes.
Or reusable items, I'm sorry. Camila also said about opening the window in her home rather than probably using an air conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse also mentioned turning anything off that drains electricity when not in use.
Yes. I like that one in particular because I know my colleague, Mr. Garcia, he talks a lot about that with our 6th graders, vampire energy, just sucking the life out of your devices there.
And I know we have some amazing murals at the Innovation Station to talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Mrs. Clark mentioned that using a blanket when cold rather than turning the heater on.
Yep.
When Jose shared that, like when your device is down, or letting your device go down before you charge your battery.
Yeah, and that will definitely keep your devices lasting a little bit longer, definitely for sure.
And Angie also mentioned about remembering to fix like leaking taps, turning the water off when needed, and making sure to turn those lights off when no one needs it anymore.
I know. Yeah, and it's interesting because I think there's so many different things and different levels that our students and families can do. There's certainly things that students, you guys can do that don't take a whole lot of work, like shutting off the lights or opening a window. And there's things that your families and adults can do in particular, because like fixing a leak, I don't know if kids can do that, but there's ways. And I hadn't planned on putting this in our presentation, but the City of Chula Vista, we do have these toolkits. The library has toolkits where you can check on things like that. So check out the library, and they can certainly have toolkits available for you to check and see how your home is doing when it comes to leaky faucets and things like that. So excellent ideas, you guys. That's really fantastic. Now, I know there are tons of problems to address with our environment, and I can't personally tackle them all. So I'm going to identify what I want to do, starting with what I can do in my own home. And I'm going to try to go green by building a home similar to those green roofs. So now we're moving into our EDP process. And the first step is I want to ask some questions. Some questions in my mind might be, well, what kind of plants can I grow on a roof? All right. How long is it going to take to grow? Will it get enough water if I live in a hotter climate? Okay, we're a little bit different than New York City. San Diego is a very dry desert climate. So can I find something that's going to suit my roof? And how do I even take care of a green roof? So those are some questions in my head. Our next stage is to imagine. And in the imagine stage, I start to picture all the possibilities, what plants might provide to help cool my house. So I might be wondering, where else can I green up my house? Maybe I can put it on a wall like you see in that picture, or on my patio or a balcony. Where can I put some of these plants? So now I think I'm ready to plan out my materials. And as I review my materials here in a bit, remember that you can pause the video at any time and catch up when you're ready. But to make our green roof today, or our sprout house, here's some things you're going to need. First, on our must-have list, you'll need a plate for a workspace. It should be a plate that can hold some water for a few days. So paper plates, they're not going to work because they're going to get soggy. So it should be a plate that's okay to use outside and can get some sunlight. Next, you're going to need 3 to 4 sponges. We are going to be cutting these up. So as an architect, you can later decide how large you really want to make your house. But for now, I'm going to be making a small house. So 3 to 4 sponges should be fine. Chia seeds or other fast sprouting seeds. Now I know you might not have these right away. So I know earlier, prior to our session starting, some people asked, can I do the seeds later? Absolutely. Maybe go and hunt around for the seeds that you want to try out. Chia seeds, they can be found at the grocery store. Okay, you've probably seen them in the health food aisle. They're usually black, and maybe a couple white ones in there, and they're very tiny seeds, and they come in a bag. So those are called chia seeds. Other fast sprouting seeds might be alfalfa or perhaps even lettuce seeds. You're going to need some glue or toothpicks to attach the walls of our house together. Liquid glue preferably. Today, for time's sake, I'm going to be using a hot glue gun. Okay, but if you don't have any glue, you can certainly attach your walls using the toothpicks, and I'll show you an example how. And then finally, you're going to need some other tools like scissors, a small mixing bowl and a spoon, and just a few drops of water to mix up your seeds. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to my dock camera, and let's go ahead and build. And so while I'm going ahead and doing that, let's make sure we get our dock cam working. All right, Mr. Bruder, are they okay to see what's on my table here?
Yes, we are all good.
Perfect. Okay, I think my hot glue gun is warm enough. All right, so here are my supplies as we talked about. The first thing I'm going to do, since I do have my seeds ready with me, is I'm actually going to drop a few kind of drops of water in my chia seeds. These are the seeds I was talking about. They're super tiny. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of water so I can let them soak. Okay. I wonder how many of you actually had chia seeds maybe at your local juice smoothie place. Sometimes they'll put chia seeds in smoothies. Okay. So I'm just putting a little bit in here to let it soak for the time being while I build. Maybe I'll just put the whole thing in there. And chia seeds are cool because they're going to create a paste. So they're just going to be, it's almost like, how many of you have gone to like Tapioca Express, or you've had like boba or something like that? It's a type of seed that sucks up water. And so I'm just going to let that sit there for a few minutes. And I do have a towel paper for myself. And just kind of let the water just soak in to the seeds. So we're going to make like a little paste. Okay, so I have my sponges, 3 to 4 sponges. I'm going to use my 3 for now. And I'll put 2 of these aside with my paper plate. This is going to be my base. I'm going to pretend this is my little lawn, my garden. And then I'm going to maybe use the orange ones as my walls. Now, I didn't mention it, but if you want to, maybe use a pen to mark out what you're doing. But I kind of know what I'm going to cut them into. And I'm just going to cut these first in half. Okay, so we know our fractions, right? First thing is cut them in half. Okay, that's about equal. All right, so that can be a wall, but I'm going to make it even smaller than that. I'm actually going to cut these down again. So think of your fractions, boys and girls. If you've been studying fractions, if I cut this twice, now I've made fourths, right? So cut them in half once, and then cut them in half again, okay? Now I can kind of decide if I want to do it this way. Maybe this way is good. And I have my walls of my house like so. So I'm first planning out where they're going to go before I even touch the glue. Okay, and I think I like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these one wall at a time onto my base. And I'll show you in a moment how you can do this if you don't have glue, if you just have toothpicks. All right, it looks pretty good. I'll put the other one right about there. All right, a little bit off. That's okay. Now I'll show you one with the toothpick. So say you don't have glue, right? If you use a toothpick, again, do this with hopefully with an adult in mind, just in case you don't want to poke yourself. Real simple. You're just going to insert it into whatever part you want. Actually, I want to do it this way. Okay. And I'm going to push that toothpick as far as I can in. And then depending where I want to put this, just poke it into the side of that. So this is where you want to kind of be careful because, you know, we don't want ourselves to get poked with a toothpick. And that holds just fine. I mean, maybe you want to put a little bit of glue on the bottom to secure it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here. Okay, so again, you don't have to use the toothpicks, but again, if you don't have glue, and you know, sometimes when you buy these sponges, they're a little bit moist anyways. So, you know, glue sometimes might take a while to dry on something that's a little bit wet. All right, put a little bit more in here. All right, that looks good. Okay, so I might even want to put a toothpick in between that part just to keep it secure, or again, hot glue it. And the whole point of it is just to make sure that we have our house and the walls in one piece. All right. I think this will be my front door. I might draw a little door in there. Okay, now I'm using the bare minimum of sponges. So here's my third. This is going to be my roof. And so same thing, I'm just going to cut this in half. And actually, I'm wondering, and you can always improve it. Maybe I'll do it lengthwise. See what happens if it's lengthwise. Okay, and so I can now imagine it like this, right? If you want some extra support, maybe that fourth sponge, you can wedge it in between here. But I think for now, I'm going to just attach them together so they're kind of in this A shape like that. So let me go ahead and do that. So boys and girls, I hope you're enjoying the fact that we're getting some warmer weather, because if you've been to like the you know, garden supply stores, home improvement stores, now's the time they're bringing out all sorts of really cool flowers and seeds, and I think it's just a good reminder of, you know, what you're capable of doing, just growing things on your own in your house, even just small little kits. Okay, let's see if I can get this right here. I'm gonna put this like so. Okay, oh, they definitely are stuck on there. Good. Okay, so far so good. I just need to attach the roof to my top of my house. And again, you can always go back and kind of add on more to this, but dress it up. The whole point of using sponges, you're probably wondering, let me add another glue stick in here. Why are we using sponges? Well, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of seeds out there that you don't need soil to grow them. Again, go to like a garden center and ask the people who work there. A lot of times you can take cuttings of plants and just put them in a small dish of water, a bowl of water. And before you know it, they take root inside the water. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of do some research, experiment, like what kind of things can you grow from cuttings? And that's kind of what these are doing. You can see they'll grow on the sponge. They don't need soil, but they have a place to root themselves in. All right, that's doable. I mean, it's not the most balanced roof, but again, hopefully my sprouts are going to cover things up. And I think I'd like to put a little door on here. So I'm going to put a little door. This is the front of my house. And maybe I'll put a couple windows. And see if my seeds over here. Oh yeah, they've soaked that up. Now I might need to add a little bit more water if they're too pasty, but we'll see. Okay, let me put my glue gun aside here. I don't need that. Don't want to burn myself. I don't really need my toothpicks. So now here's the messy part. Okay, and that's why we want to have this on a paper plate for a workspace. Is you can use your spoon or just use. I'm going to use my fingers, and I'm just going to. Ooh, that is pasty. Look at that. Okay, it's very pasty. And you're now just gonna kind of spread that all over the roof of your house. Now you might need to thin it out. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more water in here, just to thin it out a tad. And the other thing that you're going to want to do after you're done with this, boys and girls, is like every other plant, you're going to need to water it. So get like a little mister, like a plant mister, and just mist this every day. Maybe if you have a sibling, if you 2 of you or 3 of you in your family are doing this, this is a good opportunity to make into a science experiment. Some of you might want to put them outside. Some of you might find a nice spot in your home that has a high, a heat lamp of some kind, and see which one grows first. Okay, there's all sorts of things you can do with that. Now again, these chia seeds are super pasty, so I'm really gonna have to try to spread these out more. I mean, they are sticking like glue. I think I need some in my front yard. Okay, now depending on the seeds, again, chia seeds will make this paste. I haven't tried alfalfa seeds, so to be honest, I'm not sure how those would work. And I did try, I had like this blend of lettuce seeds I'm using at home and kind of hoping that's going to sprout. Another thing, boys and girls, is if you go with your families to those garden centers, is when you look at the seed packets, it's a good way to practice learning to read labels. They'll tell you on the seed packet if it takes like a week to sprout or, 10 days to sprout. So that could give you some idea, like, when is it going to sprout? Look at the seed packet. All right, I think I'm going to put just a little bit more, and then I might have some extra. And my chia packet, or my chia seed bag, I just took this from my pantry because I have a whole bunch of them. Now that reminds me, how many of you, if you're thinking, have seen the commercials for Chia Pets? That's what these are. So I know when I was growing up, I saw commercials for Chia Pets. I'm like, what's a Chia Pet? And now I know it comes from chia seeds. Okay, there we go. We're done. All right, there's our sprout house. Now we just have to wait. Okay, that's gonna be lots of time, lots of patience, but I would love to see how your houses turn out. So I'm going to go ahead and move back to my presentation, and we'll talk about our last step. Oops, there we go. We'll talk about our last step here in our EDP process, which is the improve stage. Okay, so with improvements, we made a house together. Hopefully you got some tips of how you can make it later on. But imagine if you had already made it, what would you want to do to improve your house design? So that's my final question in the chat for you, is as you're making this, what do you want to do to maybe improve how your house looks? So make your suggestions in the chat, and we may mention them later on towards the end here. So now you're an architect. Now as the weather gets warmer, I can't wait to see your sprout houses. Remember, unlike our other builds, as we talked about, this one's definitely going to take some time. So be patient with your plant. If you can afford to, maybe make 2, one for outside, one for inside, and do those comparisons and we chart the growth. But most importantly, I hope your sprout house will remind you how everyone can make a difference to the earth, especially on Earth Day. All right, we're coming towards the end here. Time for our Kahoot. Remember to play, you will need to open another window, not a tab, so you can see my questions on one window and your answer buttons on another. And you can see there's the pin there, 5745260. That will also appear at the bottom if you come in late. You can always see that at the bottom if you want to join. As we're waiting for our contestants to join us, Mr. Bruder, do we have any final questions or comments from our audience, maybe about how they'd improve their house, or just general questions about being an architect?
Hey, Mrs. Hughes. Yeah, they're starting to come in now. I think after they clean their hands off from all those chia seeds.
All those messy
Riley,
seeds.
Riley was sharing about working on making the house a little more even.
Yes, I agree with that.
And
Yeah,
then
mine's kind of tilted.
Cameron also shared about kind of scaling it up and making it a larger house.
Okay.
And then we had a few more recommendations that people shared as far as ways that they could reduce their use at home and materials. Really along the lines of what we kind of talked about before, as far as how to conserve electricity, conserve water, things like that.
Yeah, and there's lots of different ways to do that, boys and girls. So again, even just planting this, say like in the video we talked about, we're not the same as New York. So realistically, I don't know how many of us are really going to put plants on our real home because we're such a dry environment. But I know you, Mr. Bruder, and Miss Bystrike, we happen to do a little field trip yourselves. So I know she's going to be having something coming up next week where you visited some drought-tolerant gardens. And so, boys and girls, that's another thing to consider is when you look around town, you look at parks, you look at even your school site, what are the type of plants that we're growing here in California that don't take up a lot of water? Because that's an energy, right? So when you make those decisions, I know there's some beautiful plants at the stores, but sometimes those really, really pretty ones that are so bright take up a lot of water. So you have to make some really good choices about the landscaping we're using, and even with our sprout home, this is just a reminder, what can I grow? I personally would love to grow some herbs, you know, because you can kind of pick at those and put them in your recipes at home. So maybe if you do that, tell us in the chat, how many of you maybe have an herb garden at home?
Yeah, Mrs. Hughes, we were wondering if you could answer a question about materials.
Okay.
One of our viewers was wondering if you don't have sponges, could you use something else, like a towel, a paper towel?
That's a good question. I know some of you maybe have done something similar in the past with your teachers where you've just taken a paper towel and wet it and put beans and sprouts in there. You could certainly try that, and that could be kind of a fun hack, is maybe sprout them in the paper towel and then drape them over the roof. It's not going to have the same effect because the towel is flat. It's not really, it's in there and it's moist, but at least you'll get to see some sprouts happen. So you could certainly try that.
We also had another person share that they would add some more details to it. So I think get at the aesthetics of the looks of it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I'm really curious, as you can see, like in the picture we have for the Kahoot, you know, how long it took that person to grow theirs. But I believe at the top on that picture is going to have some alfalfa sprouts. So now you can kind of maybe see what that's going to look like. I believe when I looked at this picture, the longer ones might have been lettuce sprouts. So if you're kind of wondering what those shapes and sizes are going to look like on your house, yeah, that's to be really interesting to see what happens out of these.
Yeah, Mrs. Hughes, I think we're ready to get started, but there were a couple of people that mentioned something that you said as far as gardening. And that place that you talked about is an amazing resource out at Cuyamaca College called the Water Conservation Garden. Great place to check out. Emily shared that she herself has succulents at home.
Oh, cool.
We also had another person share that they have an herb and vegetable garden as well.
Oh, fun. And there's so many great resources out there, boys and girls. I know our whole department, some of the things we provide some of the teachers, we had a whole unit on how to grow your own herb gardens and your home gardens, if it's in a container, if it's on a wall, or making a garden based on a recipe you like say salsa, right? So what are some things you can grow at home in herbs like cilantro and, you know, just all sorts of different things, tomatoes, and maybe make a theme out of it. And that could be a fun thing to do as a family, is pick something that has to do with something you guys all enjoy and grow that out of your garden rather than just some random, you know, herbs that maybe you're not all that interested in. Okay. All right. Well, this Kahoot is looking really great. So if we don't have any other questions or comments, Mr. Bruder, we can go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, boys and girls, get ready. See what you remember. Going green, building a sprout house. Okay, first question. An architect's job is to what? An architect's job is to plan and design the building. That's red triangle. Is it to collect the materials for the building? Blue diamond. Is it to do the construction of the building? Yellow circle. Or is an architect's job to live in the building? Green square. What is a primary job of an architect? Is it to plan and design the building? Collect the materials for the building? Do the construction of the building? Or just live in the building? All right, we have about 33 answers in, a couple more seconds. Okay, good job, you guys. So most of us picked plan and design the building. Yes, they're the designers. They're the artistic people who are doing that work. Okay, let's see who's up there. Dynamic Cat. Ooh, haven't had that name before. Okay, question number 2. Green roofs help the environment by, green roofs, can they help the environment by cooling the rooftop temperature? Red triangle. Green roofs help the environment by providing habitats for bugs. Green roofs help the environment by collecting water. Or green roofs help the environment by all of the above. So how do they help? Can they cool the rooftop temperature? Red triangle. Do they provide habitats for bugs? Blue diamond. Do they collect water? Yellow circle. Or do green roofs do all 3 of those combined? Okay, and there's an interesting green roof there. Looks like in another cityscape, urban area. We call those urban areas. And our last second, let's see what you guys came up with. Ooh, it's split. So I know you guys were thinking of the cooling part, but actually in that video, she mentioned all 3 things. It helps with the habitats for birds and butterflies and bees. You had all those bees on the roof, and it collects the water for really rainy places. So good job. All of the above. Let's see who had those right. Zany Bear. All right, Zany Bear. Moving up the ranks. Okay, question number 3. What is a new idea in architecture? Something that hasn't been done before. What is a new idea in architecture? Building with wood. Red triangle. Is something new 3D printed homes? Blue diamond. Is a new idea using air conditioning? Yellow circle. Or is a new idea hiring the 3 little pigs? Green square. What is a new idea that we talked about in architecture? Building with wood, 3D printed homes, using air conditioning, or hiring the 3 little pigs. I have a feeling you guys can at least eliminate one of those. Something that's a new idea in architectural engineering. All right, almost all of our answers are coming in, 35. And all right, good job. That should have been an easy one. I think it's so cool that you can do with those 3D printed homes so quickly. So good job, you guys. And those 3 little pig answers, you guys are just wishful thinking. That'll be kind of fun, but wishful thinking. All right, let's see who's at Agent Horse. All right, up the ranks as well. Question number 4. Now look at this one. This one has a little italicized, so we're emphasizing which is most likely the easiest way to go green. Okay, the easiest way to go green. And you guys mentioned some. Is the easiest way to join a service project, like maybe cleaning up at the beach. That's red triangle. Is an easy way plant a tree in every park. Again, think of what we're saying, the easiest way. Blue diamond. Is an easy way to open the windows instead of using air conditioning, AC. Yellow circle. Or is the easiest way to go green, live in a container home? Green square. So I like all 4 of these, but our key word or phrase here is what's the most likely, easiest way to make a change, okay? Join a service project, like going to the beach or picking up trash, like a big community of people, something that's organized, plant a tree, open windows, or live in a container home. Ooh, this one was kind of split again. Again, there's the key word. Of course we want to plant a tree, but I don't know if every single part, can we do that? It's probably not the easiest. Maybe you can do it in your own home. But yes, opening windows instead of using air conditioner is the easiest thing you can do because it's in your own home. All right, good job, guys. And Classy Raven is taking the lead. All right, last but not least, let's see who can be fast on their fingers. This one's gonna have to do with a number. When will we celebrate Earth Day? That was at the beginning of the presentation. When will we celebrate Earth Day? Is it gonna be April 16th? Red triangle. Is it gonna be April 22nd? Blue diamond. Will it be April 26th? Yellow circle. Or will it be April 30th? Green square. Let's see how many of you remember from the beginning of our presentation. When will we celebrate Earth Day? April 16th, April 22nd, April 26th, or April 30th. And once we know the answer, mark that on your calendars, boys and girls. Good way to remember and celebrate our Earth and everything we have about it. Okay, we got about 32 answers in. Couple more people, you can do it. Pick a date. Give you a hint. One of those dates is today. Okay, good job, you guys. April 22nd, next Thursday, Earth Day. All right, and let's see who our winners are going to be. On the podium, we have in third, Decisive Fox. Good decisions, Decisive Fox. Dandy Buffalo. And number 1 for this week, Classy Raven. Hey, they stuck it out there. Great job, and good, thank you, runners up, for your participation. Excellent work, you guys. I hope you remembered something from that, and you'll take it home today. Okay. All right. Well, if you're interested in more fun innovation activities, check out our YouTube channel, CVESD Innovation and Instruction. We have all of our playlists and videos for the entire year. Adults, teachers, you can tag and follow us on social media. Be sure to do that, especially with some of those pictures. Families, we would love to see how those sprout houses turned out. So share them with us online. And that's our handle for the Energy Station specifically. But here's something I also want to let you guys know about, specifically for the adults, if you can. A quick plug for our own city of Chula Vista. If you want to learn other ways to save energy or grow a garden, Chula Vista is hosting a virtual Earth Day event online next week on Earth Day. So just go to the web address you see there on the screen. You can register for free. And of course, our moderators are going to put all of these links in the chat. Great way to celebrate Earth Day and connect with our city. And as a good follow-up to saving our natural resources, be sure to tune in next week. Our hydro station teacher, Miss Bystruck, who's been helping out this afternoon, will build with you a DIY drip irrigation system. Whew, that's a mouthful. That's next Friday, April 23rd at 1 p.m. in Teams. Be sure to watch out for those email flyers, teachers, and be sure to join her online for more water fun. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Enjoy your sprout houses. We'll see you next time. Bye.